Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Artem, and I would like to speak to you about Scrummaster a bit, about this guy. Yeah, but before I would like to ask you to take your notebooks and pens for a moment. Actually, you will need them two times during my speech, and this is the first time. Can you please pick up your notebooks and pens or pencils? Oh yeah. I would ask you to do one very simple thing. I would like to ask you to think about last week and think about one issue which you solved best, well, which you solved in the way you can be proud of yourself. Can you please think of this kind of thing and write it down in a couple of words? Для русскоговорящих я попрошу это еще раз на русском. Коллеги, пожалуйста, отложите на секунду свои бутерброды и задумайтесь. Вот была неделя, с прошлого четверга по этот. Была масса всевозможных проблем, масса всевозможных дел. Вспомните одно какое-то дело, которое вам удалось лучше всего решить, чтобы вы могли о себе гордиться. Вот вспомните и вы запишите пару слов, чтобы вы потом могли к этому вернуться. Let's wait for a moment. Give me a chance. Okay, guys and girls, let's put one more minute on that and get back to our sandwiches and juices and tomatoes. Okay? This part is already ready. That's great. This is the more prepared one and the more hungry one. I'm the hungry one. Okay, I think that we can proceed. I would like to tell you a story about this guy. His name is Johnny. Yeah, and he used to be a manager in a company, maybe an IT company. And he loves his job, actually. He loved his job. He loved to manage, do all this stuff, all these kind of diagrams, you know, all this planning, communicating, managing people, making things happen, and so on. But unfortunately, Johnny had a boss. I don't know his name. And a boss liked to blame. Yeah, this is actually what sometimes bosses do. This boss loves to blame very much. And this made Johnny feel unhappy because, well, it made him feel really bad. So every time his bosses blamed him, Johnny went to the developers and usually said something like that. Oh my God, why are you so lazy? Can't you please work faster because we are to schedule? Yeah, but the developers also were not happy. They said, oh, come on, what are you doing here? Do you think when you scream, I will work faster? No way, man. Please go somewhere else and do something more useful. And that really pissed him off because, well, he thought he was doing something useful. But in fact, yeah, he tried to learn to find the truth in books. He learned very, very nice books about lean software development, but it made things even worse because now he very clearly saw that what he was doing is a waste. And one day he came across a certified Scrummaster training where he was told by this nice guy, yeah, that Scrum and Agile is totally different way of management. This is about self-organized team, this is about manager that assists this team and not direct the team and so on. So he got very, very inspired. So they, well, learned a couple of techniques. Yeah, they played a couple of simulations. And in 1 or 2 days, he got a certification. And now he's a certified Scrum Master. Hooray! Yeah, he got his Agile toolbox and he's, well, expected to be ready for every challenge he will meet in his. Oh, what is this? I don't know. Something in the toolbox. So he's ready for every challenge in his future Scrum Master's career. So one day he was hired by a very nice big company. Yeah, I was told by my American friends that this company is very, very popular in the United States. But this is the kind of site you will not open from a workplace. Okay. So he was hired by this company and met a very young and pretty woman who said, "Hello, I'm an HR manager, and before you start working on a real projects, you first need to learn. Because now you cannot work on real projects. You better not." So she said, "Well, you have to pass through a quite long learning curve before you start working on real projects." Well, he said, "Okay, well, I'm ready. Let's start." And here is the place where our real story begins. So here is our Johnny Scrummaster entering the first room with the first real team. And this team, well, this chapter is called the jailbreak. So what did he saw when he entered the room? He saw a very interesting configuration of tables. Well, these tables are on the different corners of the room. There are a lot of, I don't know, wardrobes between them. And people actually didn't see each other and didn't speak to each other. He was very surprised because he was taught that they must communicate, they must stand up, they must gather, they must pair program and so on. He said, "What's going on? Why aren't you talking to each other?" He said, "Oh, you know, we used to be freelancers, so we were hired a couple of months ago, but you know, it's better work when you're concentrated and you're not distracted, so please don't bother us with these communication things. When we need to communicate, we have a corporate chat, we have a corporate mail, so we do all needed communication like that. Please don't interrupt us." He said, "Huh. Yeah, there is my question to you. Okay, you're in this place, you have this kind of team. What are you gonna do with that?"
To set up a team building.
Nice idea. This is what Johnny thought. He thought, "Oh, I need to make them communicate somehow." He said, "Oh, I think I have a tool in my Scrum Master's toolbox, and this is daily stand-ups. Let's start with daily stand-ups. They will talk to each other, and then, well, step by step, they will go into normal communication." So he went to them and said, "Okay, guys, please stand up, please stand." But the guys were not eager to stand up, actually. They said, "Oh, come on, please. We are paid for development, for coding, not for talking. So please don't bother us with these stupid stand-ups." Okay? And he's pissed off again. Yeah, but at that moment, he heard a very uncommon remark from somewhere in the corner. He was asked, "Oh, it's very interesting. What kind of team buildings worked for this team in the past?" Yeah, he was very surprised. He said, "I don't know, I'm for the first time here, and who are you?" Yeah, and he came across this nice lady. She's a coaching goddess. Yeah, the coaching is a approach in psychology which concentrates on asking questions instead of directing people, instead of telling people what to do or what's wrong with people. So she said, "I see, I understand your problem. I think I've got something little for you, and this is called appreciative inquiry." And in short, this appreciative inquiries thing is asking open question around some positive topics. So what you're gonna do, all what you're gonna do to change the things is to ask open-ended questions around some positive and nice set of topic, and be really interested in what you hear in reply. Well, this is not so simple maybe. I will tell a couple of words about that on the next slide. Yeah, it sounds very simple, right? Open-ended questions, positive topics, we all do it every day. But to really make it work, we need to set some structure in our questions. And here's the structure. It is called the future triangle. It was suggested by Sohail Inayatullah. I don't know how to pronounce, sorry. This is a guy from India. He's an Indian professor. And he studies the history and development of Islamic religion. So this is what he suggests for Islamic religion to become less conservative and more flexible. So what he said, okay, you start asking questions, but before you need to set a positive topic. Not only to set this positive topic, but also explain for the people why it is important. When you did that, you can start asking them about the future. And your questions about the future must direct them to that kind of future that will pull them from the present. It must be very attractive future, and it must be questions that forms for them this attractive future, like, for instance, well, let's imagine that you will solve all your current problems, yeah, and you will live in a perfect world without problems. How would you feel about that? Well, what might help you to look for tomorrow day in this very nice company? This kind of questions that creates the image of very, very attractive future that will pull you from the present. This is the first type of question. When you are sure that they have this picture of future in their minds, then you start asking questions about the second thing. And this is the questions about the past. But also, these questions must be very specific. You are interested in the past experience, which will help them to push in their jump from the present to the future. Yeah, like, I'm sure you had the experience of that kind in the future, in the past. And it's very curious, I'm very curious, what lessons have you learned from that experience that will help you in the present situation? Something like that. Okay, when you're sure then that they have a nice picture of future in their minds, when you're sure that they have real confidence that in the past they already did that, now you can talk about the present problems. Usually we have a lot of problems in the present that prevents us. And we will talk about them, of course, but only on the third place. So this is the future triangle. This is the structure. And Johnny came back to that situation again. And he thought, oh, how can I use it in my situation? Interesting. So, any suggestions? How can we use this structure in that situation with people who do not want to communicate?
Ask about the future.
How can it sound?
What will be the best result for you in 2 months?
Do you want to get some new knowledge from other guys?
Good point. Okay, and what about best? What might be the question? Yeah, about the past experiences.
What was wrong previous?
Oh.
That scares you now to do a team building and teamwork. What's that in the past that you don't like if you didn't even try to communicate?
Yeah, I would not ask the question of this type, because when you talk about problems, it takes energy out of the people, and when you concentrate on these problems, it takes all the energy out of the people. So I'd better ask about the positive experience in the past, or even if they're negative, you might ask about lessons they learned, about experience they have that might help them in the present. Okay?